I think most of you have either said it or written it or read about it, but 2014 was special on a lot of fronts. It's last year at this time, John and I were sitting on stage and we had a bunch of cards behind us that said up. And we were excited about a schedule that was going up and television viewership that was going up, but I don't think anybody, ourselves included, would have expected to be talking about the performances that we saw and what that meant to raise the tour. You know, when I think about the tour this last year in 2014, and I said this on Golf Channel about a week ago, I think of career-defining moments. I mean, not only wins, but wins are probably going to define some player's whole career, no matter what happens next. It's we call it the putt heard round the world that Paula dropped in Singapore. It was the middle of the night for some of us, but somehow 75 million people were tweeting about it by the time I got up. And it was Lexi Thompson and Michelle Wie dueling in the desert. Lexi raising for her first major trophy, and then us taking a week off before Michelle went home to Hawaii and winning her home state. It was Mo's dance on the fairway of 18. No, I'm not going to reenact the dance, but I think just did. But I think for many of us, seeing Mo win was pretty special because I think she's a lot of people on tour were looking forward to that. When it was Michelle Wie taking what was already a pretty noteworthy week with us playing back-to-back at Pinehurst and making the whole world pay attention. We've talked a lot about young guns on this tour, but 2014 was certainly another announcement of young guns. We had 13 different winners under the age of 25. In fact, every win on tour this year was won by somebody under the age by 30 or older other than 3 times. So to say that the future of women's golf is in good hands and that there's a stockpile of young talent, I think is an understatement. We took a chance a little bit. I mean, maybe it doesn't feel like a chance now, but it certainly felt like a chance to us last November when we talked about launching the International Crown. We really wanted to do something completely different for golf. We wanted to create a different format, a different way to get in, a different way for players to qualify, a cut on Saturday night with a wild card playoff already built into the format. We wanted to crown one country. And so to see Spain react and play the way they did was pretty special. It makes 2016 in Rich Harvest Farms pretty interesting, and as most of you know, it'll make it even more interesting as we take it on the road.
I played with Yanni today in the Pro-Am. She said, I wish we could play that every year.
Well, funny she should say it. No, we're not announcing that. As we finish this year in the Rolex rankings, the top 5 players in the Rolex rankings come from 5 different countries. I feel pretty comfortable that if I would have said that back in 2010, a lot of people in the room would have said, yep, Commissioner, that's your biggest weakness. You know, you guys are global and from all over, nobody can follow you. And I think it's safe to say 5 seasons later that everybody in the room grasped that that's our biggest strength, that the whole world pays attention. We might be a hometown event in Portland or Toledo, but 165 countries are watching our hometown event, and that's really what separated us in women's golf. And I think it's pretty cool to think about, even at the very top of the Rolex rankings, we're still battling country to country. And then to kind of finish it off, what nobody could have envisioned when we were talking it up this time 12 months ago is that when we come back 12 months later, so many of the biggest battles are still completely up in the air. Whether it's Rolex #1 rankings, Rolex Player of the Year, whether it's the Vare Trophy for lowest scoring average, and obviously the CME Globe. I mean, while it's been an incredible year, what's really incredible to me about this year is the last 4 days is going to decide so much of how we remember 2014. So as good as the video is, I got bad news for you, Goldfinger. We get to re-edit it again in about 7 days when we recapture the 2014 performances. So Craig, I got goosebumps watching the video, but I think the next 4 performance days could be even better.
John, let's bring you in specifically to talk about some of the business highlights of the year. We've talked about the on-course moments, but we've had some good ones off the course as well.
Yeah, you know, from my standpoint, it's been just as exciting off the course. We started the year with 4 new official events, plus the International Crown, Swinging Skirts, Meyer, Yokohama, Blue Bay, and $9 million increase in purse money. So we had a good start to the year right off the bat. And then layer on top of that the fact that we introduced the race to the CME Globe, total purse of $1.25 million to the winner. And I mean, just take a look at our top 4 going into this week. Top 3 control their own destiny. That's Stacy, NB, and Lydia, and Michelle's right behind him in 4th place. So couldn't have asked for a better leaderboard going into our climatic event this week.
I didn't realize we were up 10 million last year. I deserve to say that's well better. I should have put that in review. That's
9,
impressive.
but if they want to print 10, that's okay.
10 with the globe. 10 with the globe.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then not too long after that, we had the Rolex Annika Major Award, which we introduced at Craft Nabisco, and rewarding the performance for majors over the course of the season, $100,000 to that winner. And Michelle Wee was the inaugural winner who we awarded at Evian. Along with that, a 10-year extension with our partner Rolex, the longest running partner on the LPGA. Alex is standing back there. Thank you, Alex. In addition to that, then in June, we had the announcement that we are partnering with the PGA of America and launching the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. Couldn't be more excited about everything that this event has to offer, starting with an increase of $1 million in the purse to $3.5 million. We're going to be playing at Westchester Country Club. It's going to rotate around to world-class venues in major markets around the country. And then the kicker is really 6 hours of NBC TV on the weekend, really broadening our audience, the reach of our audience to a more casual audience. So really excited about that one as well. And then finally, Mike touched on the International Crown, the successful launch this year at Cays Valley. We go to Rich Harvest Farms in 16 and then to Korea in 18. But just about a month ago, we announced a new title sponsor to carry that event forward in UL. So very excited about that partnership as well. And then you look at it from a television standpoint, and we're up 15% this year. So this is year 5 of a 10-year relationship with Golf Channel, exclusive cable relationship. And this is going to be the highest viewed year on Golf Channel for the LPGA during those 5 years among our North American events. And looking at the events on our schedule this year, 44% of them had the highest rated event that they've ever had, highest viewership in the history of that particular tournament. So really excited about what's happening from a television standpoint, and digital has more than doubled. You look at our social reach, and more people, of course, going to mobile on their phones, and we're really able to touch our fans in a lot of new and different ways, and that's exciting. Our players do a terrific job of connecting with the fans in that way also.
Here's the quick recap of 15. There'll be 33 events, official events, plus 1 in Solheim. So 33 events and plus 1 with Solheim is 34. We're up 1 versus a year ago. If you remember last year, we had a tentative event, and just to make sure that we stick with our consistency, we have 1 tentative event in Airbus Mobile, but I think we're feeling pretty good about that, and you'll see that on the schedule. As John talked about, we wanted to have a domestic swing. We wanted to make sure that our U.S. fan base and media connected with us before we went to Australia, Thailand, and Singapore, which we didn't do a few years back. So we've added the Coach Golf Championship in Ocala. From there, we'll take a 50-minute flight to the Bahamas, and then we'll take a week off, and we'll go Australia, Thailand, Singapore, take a week off, and begin our West Coast swing. We really have been about, I think if you were here last year, and most of your follow-up questions to John and I was what are you thinking about 15, which is always amazing when you introduce the current year and they talk about the next one. But what we said is we wanted to focus on purse and TV, and we have. We've added another $4 million in purse. I actually even think that'll be closer to 4.5 or 5 once all tournaments finalize their. Some tournaments haven't given us their final 15 purse, and they're saying there's going to be an increase, but we wanted to introduce now what we knew. 33 of our 34 events are televised. We have 410 or more hours of TV. Which is coming off about 380 from last year. I think we told you last year that was a 64-year history record for us, and obviously next year we'll be in a 65-year history record as we jump up another 10% in total TV hours covered. John talked about keeping this balance. I know that a lot of you have written about this since 2010, because I've been pretty boisterous about being a global tour, and I think a lot of people assumed that what that meant was Mike Whan was going to hit the road and the tour was going to go all over the place and we weren't going to have a base. And I've always said, we want to be very similar to our title partners. We want to have a home, but we want to have a global audience. We want to know that we have a headquarters, but at the same time we want to have consumers and our brand to touch all parts of the world. And so we've been committed to both of those. We've made major growth in our North American events, and we've made a commitment to play around the world. And I think there's a reason why players from around the world strive to get to this tour, and why fans from around the world watch this tour no matter where we play, because we've committed to having a home. We want players from around the world to move here, be committed to here, and then make sure we commit to make sure we grow a fan base and a sponsor base all over. And then the last thing John talked about from our objectives in last year were the 2 majors that we really needed a solution longer term. And obviously our partnership with KPMG, the PGA of America, and Golf Channel NBC is a home run. It works on so many fronts. It not only makes the event bigger, it not only gives back to the women's game, which it really will, it also gives back to women outside the game of golf. And it really makes for the perfect formula for us creating a major that's not just going to be better in 2015, but can be better in 2055 with somebody that can really think as long-term as we need to think in majors. So Craig, that's kind of an overview of the 15 schedule.